Hello, everyone. This is Stephen, and welcome to Democracy Demythologized. Today, I'm talking with Reno Kola. He's a Papuan anthropologist who has studied the political history of Papua New Guinea. So today, he's going to be talking about the political history in Papua. It's a very good conversation for understanding corruption and how corruption can impact a society. I was having some issues with the video, so today's conversation is going to be auditory only. That said, I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone. I'm here with Reno Kola. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm good.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. And I guess today we're going to talk about Papua New Guinea. Do you maybe want to get started talking about your background? You're an anthropologist here, what you do, and uh, yeah, what your background is.
Thank you. Basically, thank you for the time. And I'm also thanking you for the opportunity for us to share, Uh, Coming back to the question, I'm Reno Kola. I'm 38 of age, and I'm doing cultural anthropology. I graduated somewhere back in 2009 at the University of Papua New Guinea. That's back in my country. And right now, I'm doing a little bit of politics. Politics in the sense that I'm writing stories basing on the politicians, their history, their background, basically about this one. At the same time, I'm doing a little bit of my own business, traveling to and fro from Philippines, back in the country, PNG, and all these things. Yeah.
That's awesome. I guess both of those are really cool. Maybe we'll circle back to the business a little later. But I wanted to ask you about some of the political analysis. What have you been learning as you've been investigating the lives of these politicians?
Thank you. In politics, nothing perfect. Nothing perfect in the sense of our democracy here. We are practicing democracy in PNG. So, as we all know, there are corruption going on in all level of politics, from the national government, from the local government, from the district government, all these things. But it's becoming part of the system, if I can put it this way. It's becoming the part of the system. So all the government changes after 5 years, 5-year period. So new government come with their own agendas. And then we also, what we call, in PNG, we say it's a one-talk system, the nepotism. So if one political appointee, political appointment is one of the biggest thing that, tied up in the system that we are now in. And things are going from little bit bad from west, in a sense that nepotism is promoted. So the good people who graduate from school, the qualification that supposed to be holding that position, it never happened that way. It's nepotism getting the place. So the people, the one talk, the family relative is getting the job, and good quality people, qualification that they earn from the school, they didn't happen to get a job. So this is a kind of system that we are currently into it. Yeah.
Wow, this makes total sense. I mean, I could see this sounds like a very frustrating system. I guess why, in your opinion as an anthropologist, why do you think this corruption arose and became so deep seated in this in your country?
Um, Let me say, back from the perception that commonly happen here, some politicians are not educated enough to understand the laws of the public, laws of the system, laws of the parliament, laws of the democracy, and the constitution itself. So few are educated. When they voted into the system, they changed things around, but most of them are not educated. So when they voted into the system, instead of using the system wisely, they are abusing the system. This is one of the things I have seen from my personal perspective.
This makes total sense. I guess, constitutions are valuable, but at the end of the day, they're just text on paper, and how it gets implemented is, I guess, what's important. And what system gets implemented is what people actually do in government. Can you give an example of maybe of this of different people kind of coming in and doing their own thing despite the Constitution?
Like now currently we have one political party taking the lead from the administration and rule the government. So we call it, in PNG, we call it Pangu Party. So the current government, the current political party, the current prime minister, when one thing goes wrong in a process or in a system, they wanted to cover up, so they passed the bill. They passed the bill to make this become normal again. That's why it affects the citizens, the outcry of the citizen going from west to bad, from bad to west. So in that sense, 70% of the majority or the citizen of PNG, Papua New Guinea, they are saying that this government is not favor or this government is not good. It's the most corrupt government in the history of PNG.
Do you agree, or what do you think? Do you think they're the most corrupt government in history of PNG?
I totally agree in a personal sense because, that's the majority speaking. Because they feel the consequence of the current system, the pricing of the general goods, all these things, the tax, all these things going up from monthly basis. So it affects the flow of the system and the flow of the movement of the public citizens. So I totally agree.
Yeah, this makes total sense. Yeah, what impact has all this corruption had on the society?
The effect of the corruption, as we can see from the common view, like for instance, just recently, last week, before I came here, the government put a rule or the policy on the public buses that are going to and fro from the village to the city, compound, all these places. They are increasing 20% of the public fare, the bus fare, what we call bus fare, the fare. So 20% increase, meaning they used to pay in Kina, two kina from one distance, on a short distance, but this time they will have to pay 2 kina, 20 toya. So that's the impact that they feel, on a daily basis. So it affects. Not only that, but when we look at the goods, rice, tin fish, noodles, every month on a monthly basis, 50 toya increase, 1 kina increase, 2 kina, 150, going up every time. So this makes every citizen, they feel the effect of what we call the corruption.
Wow. Yeah. And do you feel like the fare increase, do you feel like it's being put to good use, or do you feel it's just kind of lining the pockets of politicians?
That's exactly what you are saying. So what happens is like this. If it is going to be, something intentionally, if they make this one, on the other hand, to give the struggle back to the public citizen and put this money to good use, the public citizen will not complain about it. But it doesn't happen that way. They get the money and they put in their pockets or elsewhere. We don't know, making business and all these things. So the citizens are watching every day, the citizens are watching every day, feeling the impact. They feel the pinch of the life that they're facing every day. So that makes them complain every day, and they are not, as a result, they are not satisfying with that current government.
Yeah, this makes total sense. This sounds very frustrating. I guess so. It seems like from what you're saying, so you have the current party that's in charge, and it seems like at least there's a number of people who don't like the current party or the current leadership. What's standing in the way of changing that? Changing who's in charge?
We have the opposition. Opposition leaders are there. In democracy, we have government and opposition. The other aspect would be from the opposition team, who can push forward the vote of no confidence to change the current government. That happens when time allows in the system. But it didn't happen all the time. The other thing is the outcry from the public citizen. They can go for a strike, but as we can see from the experiences, the governments are in control, sending police to stop the public citizens for strike. You see, that's another thing. So the exercise and the rights from the citizen, they are not exercising it because the government sending police officers to go and stop the strike. The other thing is we wait for until the 5-year period over. We vote for new people, new candidates to come in. That's where the government changes in these 3 areas.
One other thing, I mean, with the strikes, what that makes me think about is I have heard cases of at least attempts of strikes on the Papua, on the Indonesian side of the island. One dynamic with the Indonesian side is that it's a very, like, in the island in general, both sides of the island are very have a lot of resources, very resource intense. But it seems like a lot of the resources on the Papua, on the Indonesia side, get funneled to help various, like, basically kind of siphon the power to the political elites and to international organizations that then build the mines and try to extract those resources. And that can often, it seems like that can harm communities, harm the environment, and things like this. To what extent, in your opinion, are there similar dynamics on the PNG side? To what extent is that similar or different?
In PNG, I could say it doesn't happen that way because when one government gets in, the total power is laid upon that particular government. And the citizen rights are denied. The democratic rights are denied. The NGO rights are denied. Any other rights from any other particular groups are all denied because that particular government is in control of everything. So that is one of the biggest problems that we have. So quite different from the other countries.
So is it a kind of system where, like, the new government comes in, takes everything over, and then redistributes the spoils?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I used to live in Uganda, and Uganda and a number of East African countries can be a bit like that. They can be known for like like whoever gets elected is almost expected to give give certain perks to the people that endorse them, and then if the party shifts, then suddenly everything gets redistributed. Um, I guess one dynamic in some of the East African countries is that we're seeing a lot of parties maintain power for a very long period and kind of maintain their hold, because if the other party comes in, they're going to take everything and redistribute it. So you have presidents that have been in power for over 30 years in East Africa. Um, Tell me if I'm wrong, but from what you're saying, it sounds like the PNG is a little different from that. That you guys frequently do shift power. Um, you know, Between elections, maybe one election goes to one party, and then the next election 5 years later goes to the next party. Is that accurate, or is it more kind of centralized with a certain power party pretty clearly in charge?
Yes, what you are saying is that's in line with what you are saying. Every after 5 years, one political party get into power. That's only for 5 years. Normally, from the history back, only one or two political parties, that take the government for, let's say, 10 years. I think 10 years is enough for them, not more than 15 or 20 years. Because we are, part of the developing country that this is one of the things on the outer extent. This is one of the things that all back for development sake, if I put it this way. When one government comes in, stays for 5 years, and then the other government, another political parties going to power, comes to government again. So it comes with generally the parties come with their own agendas, all these things. So the thing that carefully look at it is, if all parties but the people, it didn't happen, but for the discussion's sake, what I'm saying is, if one party stays for 5 years and another political party come into power, they're supposed to, help complete or help push the former government, what they're doing. So that, because after all, beneficiary goes to the citizen, goes to the people. They're supposed to push on what the former government are doing. In that way, we should be, in a better position. But that doesn't happen that way. Like I said, one political party coming to power, it comes with its own agenda. So in a process, they didn't fund a project or program for the former government, the previous government. You see? So in other words, everything becomes incomplete, especially project and programs.
Okay, so the government...
That is one of the things that hold us back for development sake.
Okay. Yeah, this makes sense. So it seems like new party, new government, they start all these programs, but they don't have time to finish it before the next party comes in and erases all of it.
Yeah.
Can you give an example of something that got completely of an unfinished business or unfinished program like this?
Yeah. Okay. There are many things here. I'll just give you a few examples. Probably one common one. Let's say Papua New Guinea is diverse by cultural, inheritance and everything, languages and everything. But when you look at the other layer, let's say the resources right now, we have gold, we have oil, many resources you could name. But what actually, for the sake of discussion and the question is likely for us, let's look at the resource sector. Okay, one government pushes for another, big company from outside to come and do his establishment and taking the oil out from the country out, and the negotiation almost taking 3 years. The production of part of it would take another 1 year. And then that's 4 years gone. And if you look at 1 year, that's you are preparing for the election. So you are not ready for the project to be implemented, and then the time catch up for the politics, for the new election, general election. So this is one of the examples. It happened last 5 years ago. So by next year we have the election coming up again. So these are kind of things that, delay the implementation part of the project on the ground. So the landowners and the provincial government, they're still waiting for the national government to do the, strong, firm decision for the company, the big company, to come and establish and do the work. This is one of the examples on the resource sector.
Yeah, this makes total sense. I could see how that would kind of stifle, because it could take several years to build these types of projects, especially these big international projects like an oil project or something like that.
Yes.
One other question I wanted to ask you, you were hinting at this when you talked about how culturally and linguistically diverse the PNG is. But there's, it seems like in the PNG there's a big difference between urban and rural, and there's even a lot of diversity among different rural communities. How does this influence the politics?
Okay, that's quite interesting. That happens from ages, let's say 35 years. We are 50 years of getting independence now. So when you look at the geography in a general view, the most population lives here at what we call, what is it? The urban and let's say 30% or 25% or 30%, let's say 30% or 35% living at urban areas. And the rest of the population lives at the, what's the word? The rural community. Mm-hmm. So when it, comes to the voting time, the ballot papers normally arrives to everywhere in the country. There is equal distribution of the ballot papers throughout urban centers and to the rural communities. That's normally happens. What normally does in practical, most of the educated elites are based on urban areas. So what they did, they vote in a good manner, meaning that they follow the process of a voting system and they cast their votes. But going back to the rural areas, normally most candidates, those who go for the election, the political candidates, they used to give money to bribe the votes. That happens in PNG. They used to give money to bribe the vote, so everybody have the chance to go and vote. So when that happens, the same people from the close by, some areas are close to the urban areas. So during 1 day or 2 day polling, they can move around with a vehicle. So they vote from the urban centers and going back to the community, the rural community where the road access is. But when it comes to, the very isolated place, like we have few places still, isolated from the road connection. the top normally distribute or issue the ballot papers. So when that happens, certain group of people they just stay there and mark the ballot papers according to their interested candidate. You see, that's what happened. So the difference is the majority of the urban population, they cast their vote accordingly. And the majority of the rural community, only few people represent them to cast their vote. In that way, they influence and they vote for their own favor. You see, the candidates that the rights are denied from the rural areas. So let's say the small group of people, they cast their vote representing the whole bunch of the city population from the urban community. So that's the difference now, you see.
Yeah, I mean, that's really sad. That seems like it's a form of voter disenfranchisement. Even though, I mean, I know the resources to get, because there's some very remote areas in Papua, to go all the way out would be difficult, but that seems like a major form of voter disenfranchisement, to have people basically market according to who they want to be in charge, not what the actual rural communities are voting. One other question, and the thing you said at the very beginning of your last point connects to this. I wanted to ask you about the colonial history. What impact do you think the colonial history is having on the politics now? Like, I know it's been 50 years, but do you think some of the problems that we're seeing in Papuan politics are come from the colonial era, or do you think they're separate?
Basically, one thing I know from my own content knowledge, in every country, like back in PNG, we used to go for the soft loan. When we shortfall of the budget, we go for the soft loan. We go for the soft loan and then fund the fiscal year of the budget. Like, for instance, every December or November, let's say November, the parliament sits and passes the budget for the following year. So when that happens, when we look at the former politician or the colonial, what you are referring to, it becomes, in other words, let's say it's a legacy issue here now. So when they borrow money from outside, they are not repaid. And then when the next government comes in, they are not fully repaid the loan that our forefathers or the former politicians borrowed. It stays there, so they additionally borrow on top of their borrowings. So what we call the debt of the country is building up. So this is one of the bad things that they put into the system, and they have gone.
Yeah, that's really sad. And then it suddenly becomes the current Papuan's government's problem to deal with this debt.
Yes.
One other question I wanted to ask you: what made you, as an anthropologist, what made you interested in studying these politicians and their kind of biographies or their lives? What made you interested in studying them in more detail?
This is what I'm actually doing it for some time, and you know.
So here, I'm just having an issue, so I have to.
Okay.
I got your.
Okay, thank you. That's basically my personal life. I'm choosing anthropology because basically in PNG, there are no jobs for anthropology. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, the universities offering the courses of anthropology. sociology and all these people, all these things. So the funny thing is, you go for a study, you graduate, and you don't have the job. That's what happens in PNG University. So few of us, me and other colleagues, that we went together for the study at the university. We graduated, but then after graduation, we have no job. So we choose different paths away. So they choose teaching and others go. But for me, I'm still hanging there because, it's not about the money. It's not about the life the luxury, let's say. But it's about the content knowledge that I'm trying to get from everything else, including politicians. That's for me, from my personal view, So from my personal decision, so I said, I can stay without luxury, I can stay without work, formal job, but I'm very interested to, hang in there and continue to study the flow of the government, especially back in PNG, the politicians. So when I push one project, they approved, they didn't give me fund for implementing. I struggle. All these things happen in my lifetime. So I only deliver one project from the national parliament. But again, new government comes in and this project hang on there. So from my personal, career, I face a lot of challenges along the way. But I said, hang in there. I will still try to pursue and push something that I need to achieve in my own so that I can, satisfy as an anthropologist.
There we go.
So, in general, I shift from cultural, little bit of doing cultural things in the museum and all these things. I pause there and I shift. I do the shift. That was 3 years ago. I do the shift and come to politicians and then try to find a way up. So I engaged with one politician. He gave me one project, the Tourism and Culture Ministry. And then I basically work on that one. And then I said, that's a good start. So I'm trying to, put all the stories for all politicians, especially the prime minister. Yeah, we don't say president, we say prime minister. So I'm trying to put all these things together. How this man becomes the politician, his own personal life, how he became the politician, he became the prime minister, he formed the party, all these things. So, it's a big thing, but I'm trying to put a story together slowly by slowly. So I'm still working on it. That's make me interested. I'm doing it now.
As maybe one of the final questions, we're recording this. You're in Manila. You said that you have business in Manila. What made you kind of go back and forth between Manila and PNG, or the Philippines and PNG?
Yes, thank you. I've been doing two things at the same time. One is because like I said, I am not officially engaged by any of the job. I'm doing private with the career of anthropologist. So I'm writing books, you know what I mean? Writing books is very challenging.
Yes.
And we all know that. At the same time, I have families to take care as a father, so I must do two things at the same time. Doing little business just to take care for the kids and family, and then doing what we like to do with our career, the talents that we have. So what brings me here in the Philippines is I'm trying to, I did 3 years ago, what I did is I bring PNG students to study in the Philippines. Why Philippines? Because one is the currency that the peso against the PNG kina is quite okay. it's quite okay for my students. I mean, the students from the PNG can study here. Number two reason is Philippines, we all know it's colonized by American one time before in the history. So the system and the school curriculum here is equivalent to the US base. So it's make easy for my fellow Papua New Guinea to come and study here instead of going to US. Like most people dream to go to US and study, it's the same thing. They need to come here in the Philippines and study. So that's the most two common reason makes me to come. So while doing this, one of the politicians found me to do this one. So in that job, I, help myself, help my family, and I used to travel back and forth. That's the reason.
That's awesome. How old are your students? Yeah, how old are your students?
You finish grade 12, you come for university here. So it's like, uh, commonly, it's like you're 24, 25, 26, 27 years old, along that range of age.
There we go. So young adults.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk now. And I guess I hope you have a good rest of your afternoon in Manila.
Thank you.